Sometimes the loudest silence isn't the one that fills an empty room. It's the one that fills your soul when you've forgotten how to hear yourself. That space between thoughts where your true voice used to live. That hollow feeling when you look in the mirror and see a stranger staring back. You know that silence. The one that grows louder with each passing year, drowning out your inner compass until you can barely remember what your own truth sounds like. The silence that makes you wonder if you've always been this numb, this disconnected, this far from home. But what if that deafening quiet isn't a sign that you're broken? What if it's your soul's way of telling you it's time to listen deeper, to turn down the volume of the world and tune back into the frequency of your own being? There was a time before the silence, before you learned to go numb just to survive, before you built walls so high around your heart that even you couldn't find your way back in. You remember it, don't you? That raw aliveness, that wild authenticity, that unguarded way of moving through the world before life taught you it wasn't safe to feel so much. Carl Jung understood this when he wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." The silence inside you isn't empty. It's full of everything you had to push away to keep functioning. Every emotion that was too big, every truth that was too dangerous, every part of yourself that didn't fit into the narrow box of acceptance. You didn't choose this disconnection. You didn't wake up one morning and decide to stop feeling, to stop listening, to stop being real. It happened slowly, almost imperceptibly, like water wearing away stone. Each time you swallowed your truth to keep the peace. Each time you smiled when you wanted to scream. Each time you said, "I'm fine," when you were drowning inside. The world taught you early that certain parts of you were too much. Your sensitivity, your depth, your intensity, your questions that had no easy answers. So you learned to dim your light, to speak more softly, to take up less space. You became an expert at making yourself smaller, at turning down the volume of your soul until its whispers became that deafening silence you carry now. Look at how you move through your days, always doing, rarely being, always giving, rarely receiving, always performing, rarely existing. You've become so good at maintaining the mask that you sometimes forget it's not your real face. You go through the motions of living while feeling like a ghost in your own life. The symptoms show up in strange ways. That floating feeling like you're watching yourself from outside your body. The way time seems to slip through your fingers without leaving any trace of meaning. How you can be surrounded by people yet feel completely alone. The endless scrolling, eating, working, shopping, anything to avoid sitting with that silence. But here's what no one told you about dissociation. It was never a flaw in your system. It was your system working perfectly to protect you when reality was too much to bear. Your mind created distance when closeness felt dangerous. Your heart went numb when feeling threatened to break you. Your soul stepped back when stepping forward meant risking everything. You've been living in the shallow waters of yourself, afraid to dive deep where the real treasures lie. Afraid of what you might find in those dark waters of your psyche. Afraid that if you start feeling again, you'll never stop. That if you let one tear fall, an ocean will follow. But what if that ocean needs to flow? What if all this time your soul hasn't been silent at all? It's been singing a song of homecoming, waiting for you to be ready to listen. What if The emptiness you feel isn't empty at all, but pregnant with possibility. The journey back to yourself doesn't start with noise. It starts with learning to befriend the silence, to sit with it, not as an enemy to be conquered, but as a teacher bearing gifts. Every moment of disconnection is pointing you toward what needs to be reconnected. Every feeling of numbness is showing you where life is asking to be felt again. Begin with your breath. Notice how it moves in your body. Notice the spaces between inhale and exhale. That's where you live. In the pause, in the gap, in the moment of pure potential before the next movement. Your breath has never left you, even when you left yourself. It's been keeping time like a metronome, waiting for you to find its rhythm again. Feel your feet on the ground, the weight of your body in space, the sensation of clothes against your skin. These simple anchors to physical reality are like breadcrumbs leading you back home. Your body has been waiting so patiently for you to inhabit it again, to trust its wisdom, to listen to its language of sensation and intuition. Watch your thoughts without trying to change them. See how they come and go like clouds in the sky of your awareness. You are not your thoughts. You are the vast consciousness that witnesses them. The part of you that has been silent isn't dead. It's just been waiting in the wings while your mind ran its endless loops of worry and planning and remembering and regretting. Notice what happens when you stop running from the silence. When you turn toward it with curiosity instead of fear. There's so much wisdom in those quiet spaces between your thoughts. So much truth in the stillness beneath your doing. Your soul speaks in whispers, not shouts. It communicates through symbols and sensations, through the language of the heart. The pain you've been avoiding by staying disconnected, it's not just pain. It's also the doorway to your deepest healing. Every emotion you've pushed down is energy waiting to be transformed. Every part of yourself you've rejected is a fragment of your wholeness asking to be reclaimed. Jung knew this when he spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are. He said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. But that privilege comes with a price. You must be willing to face everything you've been running from, to feel everything you've been numbing, to hear everything you've been silencing. Start small. You don't have to dive into the deep end right away. Begin with moments of conscious presence. When you're washing dishes, really feel the water on your hands. When you're walking, really feel the movement of your body. When you're talking to someone, really listen instead of just waiting for your turn to speak. Notice what happens when you let yourself feel again. Yes, there will be pain. Yes, there will be grief for all the time you spent disconnected. Yes, there will be anger at the circumstances that made you shut down in the first place. But there will also be joy so intense it brings tears to your eyes. Pleasure so pure it makes your whole body hum. Love so deep it breaks your heart open in the most beautiful way. The silence inside you is starting to fill with sound again. Not the noise of the world, but the music of your own soul. The rhythm of your authentic voice. The melody of your true desires. The harmony of all your parts coming back into alignment. You're remembering how to trust the wisdom of your body, how to listen to the whispers of your intuition, how to feel the full spectrum of your emotions without drowning in them. You're learning that you can be both strong and sensitive, both powerful and vulnerable, both grounded and free. The journey back to yourself is not linear. There will be days when the silence feels deafening again, when the old patterns of disconnection pull at you like gravity, when staying numb seems easier than feeling it all. But you know now that the way out is through, that every moment of awareness, even the painful ones, is a step closer to home. You're not trying to silence the silence anymore. You're learning to listen to what has been trying to tell you all along, that you are so much more than your wounds, that your sensitivity is not a weakness, but a gift, that your depth is not too much, but exactly what the world needs. The loudest silence is the one inside you, yes, but it's not your enemy. It's been your guardian, your teacher, your guide back to yourself. And now, as you learn to hear yourself again, that silence is transforming into song, the song of your authentic voice rising from the depths of your being, ready at last to be heard. This is not just healing, it's remembrance. You're not becoming something new. You're returning to who you've always been beneath the layers of protection and adaptation. You're coming home to yourself, one conscious breath at a time, one moment of presence at a time, one truth at a time. And in this homecoming, you're discovering that the silence was never really silent at all. It was the sound of your soul waiting patiently for you to be ready to listen, ready to feel, ready to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. Welcome home. The journey isn't over. It's just beginning. But now you know how to listen. Now you know how to feel. Now you know that the way through the silence is not to fight it, but to befriend it, to let it teach you its secrets, to let it lead you back to the truth of who you are. Your voice is rising now clear and strong from the depths of that once deafening silence. And it's singing a song of wholeness, of healing, of coming home to yourself at last. Listen, can you hear it? That's the sound of your soul remembering how to sing. The healing doesn't happen all at once. It comes in waves, in moments of sudden clarity, when you catch yourself actually feeling again. When you notice the warmth of sunlight on your skin and it moves you to tears. When you laugh and it comes from deep in your belly, not from that hollow place of social obligation. These moments might frighten you at first. After living so long behind the glass wall of dissociation, raw sensation can feel overwhelming, like turning up the volume too quickly after years of muffled sound. Your system needs time to adjust to being fully alive again. You might find yourself wanting to retreat back into the familiar numbness, back to the safety of not feeling, not caring, not being so achingly present. That's normal. That's your protective mechanisms doing what they've always done, trying to keep you safe from what they perceive as too much. But you're stronger now, more aware. You understand that what feels like too much is actually just right. It's your natural state of being. This depth of feeling, this intensity of experience, this full spectrum aliveness that you were born with before the world taught you to tone it down. Watch how your body begins to thaw, how sensation returns to places that have been frozen for so long. You might experience tingling in your hands and feet, a fluttering in your chest, a softening in your jaw and shoulders. Your body is remembering how to feel safe being embodied again. The memories might start surfacing now, not just the difficult ones, but the beautiful ones too. Moments of pure joy from childhood that you'd forgotten. Times when you felt completely free to be yourself. The sound of your real laugh, your real voice, your real truth before you learned to modify it for others' comfort. You're remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. before you built the walls, wore the masks, learned to perform instead of live. That authentic self wasn't lost. It was just waiting, preserved in perfect silence, for you to be ready to reclaim it. Notice how your relationships begin to shift as you come back to yourself. Some people might feel uncomfortable with your increasing authenticity. They're used to the version of you that always agreed, always accommodated, always kept the peace at any cost. Your truth might disturb their illusions, but others will be drawn to your growing realness like moths to flame. They'll recognize in you what they're longing to reclaim in themselves. Your courage to feel again will give them permission to do the same. Your willingness to be seen will create space for their authentic expression too. The silence that once felt like a void is revealing itself to be more like a womb, a sacred space where transformation happens in the dark. Every time you choose presence over numbness, truth over harmony, authenticity over acceptance, you're being rebirthed into a more real version of yourself. You're learning to trust the wisdom of your body again, to listen when it says no, and when it says yes, to honor its need for rest, for movement, for nourishment that goes beyond mere survival. Your body never lied to you. It was always sending signals. You're just learning to receive them again. The anxiety that comes with feeling more, that's normal too. When you've lived so long in disconnect, reconnection can feel dangerous. Your system might interpret aliveness as threat, presence as danger, feeling as falling. But you know now that you can handle it, that you can feel without drowning, care without losing yourself, love without disappearing. Watch how your creative energy begins to flow again. Ideas that were buried under layers of numbness start bubbling to the surface. Colors seem brighter. Music moves you differently. You might find yourself wanting to write, to draw, to dance, to express what can't be said in words alone. This creativity isn't something new. It's the natural state of a soul that's free to express itself. When we're fully present, fully alive, fully in our bodies, creation happens naturally, like water flowing downhill, like birds singing at dawn, like flowers turning toward the sun. You're learning to parent yourself with the tenderness you always needed, to hold space for all your feelings without trying to fix or change them, to say, I'm here with you, to every part of yourself that rises up asking to be seen, heard, held, loved. The inner critic's voice might get louder for a while. It doesn't like change, even positive change. It might try to convince you that you're doing it wrong, that you're too much or not enough, that you should go back to the safety of numbness. Thank it for trying to protect you, then keep going anyway. You're discovering that safety isn't found in shutting down. It's found in opening up with discernment, in knowing how to be vulnerable without being violated, in having boundaries that are both firm and flexible, in being able to stay present with yourself no matter what storms come. The silence is becoming your friend now, a place of refuge rather than exile, a space of possibility rather than emptiness. In the silence, you can hear the whispers of your soul, the subtle guidance that was always there, waiting for you to become quiet enough to listen. You're learning to trust time in a new way, to stop rushing toward healing like it's a destination to reach, to allow yourself to unfold at the pace of nature like a flower opening petal by petal in its own perfect timing. Some days you'll feel yourself blooming. Other days you'll need to root deeper into the dark. Both are necessary. Both are holy. The expansion and the contraction, the speaking and the listening, the doing and the being. You're learning to honor all of it as part of your journey home to yourself. Notice how your dreams are changing, both the ones that come in sleep and the ones you dare to dream while awake. As you reconnect with your truth, your vision for your life naturally expands. You start to want things you didn't let yourself want before, to imagine possibilities you didn't let yourself see. This, too, is part of coming alive again. When we're disconnected, our dreams stay small, safe, contained. But as we thaw, as we wake up, as we remember who we really are, our dreams grow wild and vast and beautiful again, like they were when we were children, before we learned to limit ourselves. You're remembering how to play, how to wonder, how to delight in simple things. The serious business of survival that kept you numb for so long is giving way to a lighter touch, a gentler way of moving through the world. You're discovering that you can be both deep and light, both serious and playful, both wise and innocent. The silence that once felt like absence is revealing itself to be presence in its purest form. In the space between thoughts, between breaths, between moments, you're discovering an aliveness that doesn't need words, a knowing that doesn't need proof, a belonging that doesn't need permission. This is your birthright, this full spectrum aliveness, this deep connection to yourself, this ability to feel everything and remain whole. You're not going crazy by feeling more. You're going sane. You're remembering what it means to be fully human, fully alive, fully yourself. Let the silence teach you. Let it show you what you couldn't see when you were running from it. Let it guide you home to yourself, one conscious breath at a time, one moment of presence at a time, one truth at a time. You're not just healing the disconnect. You're revolutionizing your entire way of being in the world. You're learning to live from the inside out instead of the outside in, to move from your center instead of from the periphery of other people's expectations. This is the journey back to yourself, back to the truth of who you are, back to the wisdom of your body, the clarity of your mind, the depth of your heart, the vastness of your soul. The silence is not empty anymore. It's full of your own presence, your own truth, your own voice rising clear and strong from the depths of your being. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to your truth. Welcome home to the beautiful, messy, perfectly imperfect reality of being fully alive, fully present, fully you. The silence has done its work. Now it's time to let your soul sing. And as your soul finds its voice again, you begin to understand that this awakening isn't just for you. Your journey back to presence, back to feeling, back to wholeness, it creates ripples that extend far beyond your individual healing. Every time you choose authenticity over performance, presence over numbness, truth over comfort, you make it safer for others to do the same. You're learning to hold paradox with grace, to be both strong and soft, both boundaried and open, both grounded and free. The either-or thinking that kept you trapped in disconnect is giving way to both and wisdom. You can be sensitive and powerful, vulnerable and unshakable, deep and playful, spiritual and earthly. Watch how your relationship with silence continues to evolve. What once felt like abandonment now feels like embrace. What once felt like emptiness now feels like potential. The void that scared you has become the space where your truest self can emerge, where your deepest wisdom can speak, where your soul can finally stretch out and take up all the space it needs. You're discovering that healing isn't about becoming someone new. It's about unbecoming all that you're not. Letting go of the masks, the roles, the protective patterns that once served you, but now only constrain you. Like a snake shedding its skin, you're releasing what's too small to contain who you're becoming. The numbness that once felt like safety now feels like a prison. You can't go back to sleep once you've started waking up. Can't return to unconsciousness once you've tasted the sweetness of being fully present in your life. The old ways of coping through disconnect lose their appeal as you discover the aliveness waiting on the other side of feeling. Your body is becoming your ally again, your temple, your home. You're learning its language of sensation, its wisdom expressed through feeling, its truth that speaks in shivers and sighs and subtle shifts of energy. The dissociation that once lifted you out of your body now gives way to a deep, embodied presence. Notice how time feels different when you're fully present, how moments expand, deepen, take on a quality of timelessness. You're not just passing through your life anymore. You're actually living it, feeling it, experiencing it in all its textured richness. Even the difficult moments have a different quality when met with presence instead of resistance. The inner critic that once shouted now becomes a whisper, then a wise advisor, then simply another aspect of yourself to be held with compassion. As you parent yourself with increasing tenderness, the harsh voices of judgment soften. You're learning to correct yourself with love instead of criticism, to guide yourself with wisdom instead of fear. Your creativity continues to flourish in unexpected ways, not just in art or writing or music, but in how you solve problems, how you relate to others, how you move through your days. Presence brings with it a natural innovation, a spontaneous expression of life force that can't help but create beauty wherever it flows. You're remembering how to trust life itself, to surrender to its rhythm, its timing, its mysterious unfolding. The control that once felt so necessary now feels like an unnecessary burden. You're learning to float in the river of life instead of constantly swimming against its current. The silence that once felt like absence now reveals itself as the very presence of the divine within you. In those quiet spaces between thoughts, between breaths, between moments, you touch something eternal, something sacred, something that has been waiting for you all along. This is your inheritance, this capacity for deep feeling, for authentic expression, for full spectrum aliveness. This is your nature, this ability to be present with all of life, to feel everything without drowning, to love without losing yourself, to create without exhausting yourself. You're not just healing your own disconnect, you're helping to heal a collective wound. In a world that promotes numbness as a virtue and disconnect as a survival strategy, your choice to feel, to be present, to live from your truth becomes a revolutionary act. Let your example be a light for others still lost in the darkness of disconnect. Let your courage to feel inspire those still frozen in numbness. Let your authenticity create space for others to remember their own truth. The silence has served its purpose. It protected you when you needed protection. It created space for your transformation. It held you until you were ready to emerge. Now it becomes the foundation from which your voice rises, your truth speaks, your soul sings its unique and necessary song. This is not the end of your journey. It's a new beginning. Each day brings opportunities to choose presence over numbness, authenticity over performance, truth over comfort. Each moment offers a chance to come home to yourself again and again. Remember, you don't have to do it perfectly. You don't have to be fully present every moment. You don't have to feel everything all at once. This is a practice, a dance, a continuous unfolding. Take it one breath at a time, one moment at a time, one truth at a time. The loudest silence was never really silence at all. It was the sound of your soul waiting patiently for you to be ready to listen. And now that you're listening, now that you're feeling, now that you're present, your life becomes a song of homecoming, a symphony of awakening, a celebration of what it means to be fully, beautifully, authentically alive. Welcome home to yourself. Welcome home to your truth. Welcome home to the exquisite adventure of being fully present in your one precious life. The silence has done its work. Now, it's your turn to sing.